Hello and welcome back to Nerd News Today Toy Fair 2021. And we're now joined by the hosts of the Mind of the Meanie podcast. We've got Mr. Josh Shernoff, and the Blue Meanie himself is here. There he is, folks. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us here.
Great.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
So I got to ask you guys the question we're doing this whole series with, how we're doing every episode. What was your favorite toy as a kid growing up?
Wrestling figures were my favorites. Of those, I would have to say the Hasbro action figures, which kind of all leads to why we're here today. But the Hasbro WWF figures, personally, Bret Hart was my favorite wrestler, so he was my favorite figure. Got a lot of not a lot of paint left on that original figure, but I love it. And yeah, it was the Hasbro WWF figures.
How about Meanie? How about you?
As far as I go, pretty much all the wrestling toys. I collected the early LJNs, the AWA figures, the WCW Galoob figures. And then when I was a kid, I also collected G.I. Joes and created my own G.I. Joe wrestling federation, in which I made cardboard wrestling belts with little Velcro straps. And any masked G.I. Joe, like the Ninja or, whatever, was like a luchador. And certainly, the big bearded, G.I. Joes, were the heels. And then, I had my own angles. I had everything going, man. It was pretty cool. Fantasy booking until I was, 10, not 20. And then
it's okay. It's a safe space. You can tell the truth.
Yeah. So, and then all the wrestling toys and G.I. Joes, mainly because I could make the G.I. Joes and the wrestlers because they had the kung fu grip, and I can just put any hold I wanted on it. They had you could put better holds on with the G.I. Joes when I was a kid than you could with the LJNs and stuff like that. So
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because like I did the same thing growing up too. Like I had the 3 3/4 inch Joes, and the articulation was just so great. Like you could have them power bombing each other and doing vertical suplexes, even German suplexes. I mean,
Hurricanranas, sunset
Totally.
flips.
Well, they all had that little the like rubber band
the O-ring.
inside them. Yeah, that held them all together. So that was, you could do things with them that you could not do with any wrestling figures.
And to that point, I would take a screwdriver and open them up, and then I would mix and match their outfits. Like if somebody was wearing all black and somebody had like the white that looked like trunks, I would put it on there so it looked like he had white leggings with the white trunks and a black upper body. I'd make it look like that, like regular wrestling gear. I went that above and beyond.
That's hardcore.
Awesome. Oh yeah, it was awesome.
And by the way, guys, what I mentioned here, you're about to celebrate your 1-year anniversary of the Mind of the Meanie podcast. So congratulations on that accomplishment.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, that's unbelievable, Meanie.
Who knew?
Right?
The thing about our podcast that it's I've seen podcasts come and podcasts go, and I know a lot of wrestlers who get into podcasts full of fire. They got fire. Oh, I'm going to tackle the world, and then a couple episodes in, they're like, man, I'm running out of stuff to talk about. So the beauty of having a podcast with Josh is we could talk literally about everything and anything. From music, movie, sports, action figures, everything. So nothing's off the table except for more controversial topics. We like to keep we're on a stress-free diet with our podcast. So
are any of you guys toy collectors today? We just talked about what you did as kids growing up, but what about these days?
Other than my own, I'm always on the hunt for the old WWE figures because as a kid my family moved around a lot, and I wound up losing a lot of my collection. So shout out to my friends Justin and Penelope at Farpoint Toys, who have a great store, and they also carry a lot of the the old WWE LJNs that I've been looking for. So last time I was at their store, I picked up a Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Nice.
They also had the Andy Kaufman wrestling action figure from WWE and stuff like that. So I'm picking up a lot of the old wrestling figures, but ones I lost in several of my moves and stuff like that. So yeah, as far as collecting, that's as deep as it goes, just recapturing my childhood.
So I collect a decent amount more, I guess. But it's all in the same vein. So I've been going back to try. I'm still not quite there because I can't see dropping like $800 on a figure. But I'm about, I want to say maybe like 11 figures away from completing the Hasbro line. And some of them that were really, like I mentioned, the Bret Hart being not having a lot of paint on it. So I bought a pretty mint condition one. So I have those. I'm actually in my office here. I'm still waiting to set everything up, but I will have like a nice display case with all of those in there. I collect like the old He-Man figures. I'm trying to get into collecting more with the Ghostbuster figures. So a lot of the things that I loved as a kid and a lot of the figures I had as a kid, much like Meanie, kind of going back and saying, okay, I don't know whatever happened to this guy, but I'll buy it now and try and get it in his best condition as I possibly can. So that's a lot of it. And then I have one other fun thing that I do that as I've been lucky enough to get busier in wrestling and doing interviews, it started to cost me a lot more money. I had this idea when I started. I was like, well, why don't I find some of my old figures or buy some figures of people that I've worked with who have an action figure? So anyone I've interviewed or, or done any sort of any work with in the wrestling business, I have a shelf where I put all their action figures. And now you have these new companies like AEW putting out figures, and it's starting to cost me a lot of money because I've been very, very lucky to get to work with these people. I guess I just didn't think they were all going to get action figures. So that's as far as today collecting like new figures, that's really the only figures I'm collecting. Otherwise, like Meanie, I'm kind of just going back to be able to look at it and relive my childhood.
Well, the main reason I've got you two guys here today is because you have an action figure coming out right now yourselves, which is really exciting. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
I've seen the photos of it. It's coming from JB Toys, I believe, right? Or is JB Toys or Chella Toys?
So Chella Toys created them. They're releasing them in the UK and really all around the world. JB Toys over at Instagram, JB Toys 1, he's selling them in the US, doing pre-orders now in the US.
They look really cool, and I love the fact that you mentioned you are a Hasbro collector. We're all Hasbro collectors here, basically. I got a whole big collection myself too, and these are basically in that kind of retro style, in the same scale, and the same look and feel of them too, which is really great.
Yeah,
I'm very excited for those.
I got them here. These are the prototypes that Meanie hasn't. We need to organize a socially distant get together exchange here so that I can give this to him. But they sent us the prototypes so we can do some, photographs and videos and things with them. And then unfortunately we have to send them back. But these are, if anyone's ever seen me and Meanie in person, that the height scale isn't maybe exactly right. Meanie might have a couple more feet on me, but yeah, so these are, to me, these are the most amazing figures that have ever been made. So this, I'm over the moon excited for it. And for Meanie, like I always looked at him when they did the Mattel put out the retro line, which I'm sure you know about, of the WWE figures in the vein of Hasbro. And Meanie, before we were even working together, was one of those, people would be like, oh, online, who do you want to see in that line? And Meanie was someone that always jumped out to me because he never got the action figure love that like this character deserves, So I'm happy that our show is able to provide that for him, and more so happy that I'm able to ride his coattails into getting my own action figure.
Who knew a hamster had coattails?
There they are, right back there.
There you go. Yeah, man, it's very exciting. I've been in the wrestling business since 1994, and like Josh said, it's very weird that I believe, my own personal opinion, that my character, the Blue Meanie, is very toyetic. And if anything, maybe my character came a decade too late. It's definitely like an 80s, fitting character, so to speak. But it's very cool that in 2021 you have another action figure coming out, and that a company like Chella Toys would want to make the investment in not only making a figure for myself, but for the podcast as a whole. And it's very cool, to have Josh along for the ride, because without him, I wouldn't have wouldn't be doing this podcast. And then the fact that we're having my second action figure and his first together is very cool. Very cool.
I do agree with that, Meanie. I was looking back at some of the toys that have come out, and basically you have yourself your Legend of Pro Wrestling figure, and you've got your micro brawlers, but you never had a figure back when they were doing the Bone Crunchers, which always surprised me because you were there in a time when like everybody was getting a toy, and it seems like the one guy who missed it was Meanie. So I'd like to ask, were you ever approached by Jax back then to get a figure either as part of that line or even maybe later on the classic Superstars line?
Unfortunately, I was not, but I think it comes down to just bad timing. I went to WWE. Once I went to WWE, ECW came out with their line of action figures. And then once their action figures came out, I left WWE, go back to ECW, and missed the whole next line of WWE figures. So bad timing on my part. But I remember back in the day, there was like, there would be like a Toy Fair magazine, and they would have like the top requested action figures. I think I came in the top 5. I'm sure I still have it somewhere in this house. I don't throw anything out. So, but yeah, man, I was never approached by Jax. But yeah, it's a shame, especially when you see that, they make action figures of like Tank Abbott, who never wrestled for WWE, and he's getting his own action figure. And I'm just like, come on, man. I'm very pro WWE here. They were the first company I fell in love with as far as a wrestling fan. I got to, see the world on their dime and be a part of WrestleMania and all that good stuff. And I love WWE. I mean, I'm unapologetically, I love them as a company because they gave me that opportunity, and it's what I grew up on. So yeah, it's very it's a bummer to say the least.
But it's happening now, at least. That's kind of what matters. And now you're getting this retro style figure, which I think, to be quite
Yeah.
honest, is way cooler. I mean, that's like such a cool thing to have.
Yeah. I mean, when you think of all the time, money, and energy it takes for an independent company like Chella Toys to want to come up with the concept art and then make the molds and then ship them to us so we could take photos with them and we ship them back and sell them and all that stuff. It's no light feat. It's quite the undertaking for them to do this. And it's a flattering, it's an honor for them to want us to include us, not only include us in the action figure line, but they put our artwork on the back of the Nick Aldis figure, which is another great
Yeah.
figure. So,
Which was unexpected.
yeah,
We didn't know that the artwork, like the old Hasbro's always had like the outline drawings. And I got the Nick Aldis figure because I'm like, well, okay, I'll support this line. And Nick was somebody that I've had the opportunity to work with. And I'm like, hey, maybe I'll put that on my shelf. And I look in the back, I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, there we are. So it has been so exciting. And then again, like Meanie talked about all the detail going into it. Like they have, our logo for the podcast, which I think is like all over. It's behind Meanie, it's behind me, it's on my pin, it's everywhere. But it was made by the great Hal Haney.
yeah,
Made that logo for us. So to be able to have that on the figure, and behind Meanie says at Blue Meanie BWO and at Mind of the Meanie on the back of his. And then I've got the Mind of the Meanie microphone, which is removable, which I didn't even know until I saw the prototypes that the microphone was going to be removable, which was cool. That has our logo on it. And then I have one of my custom ties, which is so fun for me because it gives it that extra little thing to make it me as opposed to just, generic guy in a suit. So which is kind of what was the whole concept in real life, to have the custom ties, So, yeah, I think they've just gone into I'm looking at these here and I'm just marveling over these. They've gone into such incredible detail with them. Even Meanie's, there's no way I can show you on here, but even his face paint is slightly raised. Like it's slightly, like it's not just painted on, like it's molded in, and it's just, which is so, so cool.
And by the way, we haven't even mentioned yet that you've got your action figure and your tie also, which is just like twofold.
Yeah.
Double amazing now.
No, this is the first time I've been able to wear this. And it's got the little, I don't know if you can see the little pattern from the background of the Hasbro things. But yeah, it's just, for Meanie talked about how it was a bummer, he missed out on these opportunities. And for me, I looked at it and the idea, when I was a kid, I was maybe 8 years old, calling Hasbro, asking them how much money would it be to get an action figure of myself and my family, because I wanted my own action figure. And, 30 years later to finally be getting one, where I'd lost the idea that I was ever going to have an action figure of myself quite a long time ago. So while Meanie has kind of been sitting there going, man, I really should have had one. I'm kind of sitting here looking at this now going like, I really shouldn't have one, but this is really cool. So it is not lost on me at all. All of the people like Meanie who, have not gotten the action figure love that they deserve. And that I feel like I've leapfrogged so many of them to be able to get it. Having said that, not giving it back. And I'm very happy to be getting an action figure, and especially to get an action figure in a 2-pack with the blue Meanie. The fan in me is just it's crazy.
And the cool thing I like about Josh's figure, as Chella Toys and their line of action figures grow, you have the perfect Josh Shernoff figure to be the interviewer for any set.
Exactly.
Yep.
And you can make like a backdrop and stuff like that, and you could be interviewing all the different wrestlers and stuff like that. So it's a dual purpose, you know.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people have seen pictures of these and have already in their mind figured out who they're going to customize me into. So, hey, whatever. It's for you to enjoy. Deep down, we'll all know that it's me.
Josh, since you have the toys there in hand, maybe you can tell us, are there actual action features in these toys, or are these just basically posable? What can you tell us about that?
They are posable. So these are, again, the prototypes. I don't know. I know that the heads move, and I'm like really nervous to move them too much. I know the arms move, and hopefully don't pop out or fall out or anything. But the actual figures, I've seen the molds and I've seen the test shots of actually with the plastic being made. And the torso for my figure, I know is a separate piece from the legs. Meanie's, I believe, is one piece. And Meanie's, so Meanie's torso and body and head, because of all the detailing with the beard and all the detailing with the half shirt and everything, his is just one solid piece, and his arms move. Mine looks to have the head and the arms, and possibly the waist will move, but I don't want to bend this one and find out. But Meanie has the most important part, which is that the arms go up so he can do his little Meanie dance, and he can do his moonsault, his Meanie salt. So he's got his actual action, and I've got mine, which is to raise my microphone up. So, but no, they don't have, they're obviously they're collectibles. I mean, I guess feel free to play with them if you want to. They're not going to break. Yeah, they're more meant to be posed.
And do you happen to know what the packaging will be for these figures? Is this going to be like a collector-friendly packaging that you could put the toys back in, or is this going to be like an old school blister that you tear it open and you throw it out?
It's old school blister.
Nice.
And very much so. If you've seen the Nick Aldis figure, when we saw what that carding looked like, Meanie and I both, we were super excited about that. Cause again, we didn't know what the card would look like exactly. And it is very similar to the old Hasbro figures, paying a very strong homage to that. So, yeah, it will be a one that you rip open, let him breathe, as some would say. And, but you know what? Hey, that's why you have to get two of them, I mean, unfortunately, you're going to have to get two, keep one min on card and then Lucy here.
And we've been
That's the great thing about Chella Toys. They're so reasonably priced that you can get it another set, and it won't set you back too much. They're really cool with their price points.
Yeah, this is $30 for the 2-pack here, which is absolutely a bargain. Like when you're talking about a small production run, because this is limited to only 350 pieces total, right?
No, so it's 1,000. It's a limited run of 1,000. There are 350 being sold, I think, by JB Toys.
Okay, that's what it
has
is.
a limit of 350 there. And then I'm not entirely sure. I think Meanie and I are going to be receiving a couple hundred, might even be as much as like 300. And that's just for us, for our personal collection. But to fill a room with it so we can jump in like a Scrooge McDuck style. But no, we're going to have them for when the world rights itself and we're able to go to conventions and have them on hand. We will be, of course, family and friends, and some for ourselves, but I know Chella will have all the rest. And I do know that Chella's been selling them pretty quickly. I think quicker than they were anticipating, which is always what you want to hear.
Absolutely.
As opposed to, hey, these pre-orders are just sitting here. But we would love to see them sell out and be able to, do it again with different looks and things. So Whether or not that happens, I don't know. But yeah, so it's $350, I know, for JB Toys. But again, if those are all gone, it's not like we're going to tell you you're not allowed to. If we still have them somewhere else, we're not going to say you're not allowed to order them. So we'll make sure everybody who wants them gets them up until that 1,000th figure is sold.
And I'm glad you guys clarified the whole quantity as well. Now I'm also curious here because as we're doing this, we're still in the middle of a pandemic here, and you're
Yeah.
talking about going to conventions and signing them there. But until that happens, is there any possibility that you guys might be doing these as like mail order versions with signatures on them? Is that a possibility you guys might do?
I'm not opposed to it. It's just a matter of doing it responsibly. Like you said, we're in a pandemic. Whether it's he signs them, leaves them in his driveway, I grab him out of the driveway, take him home, sign them, bring him back, or sit in my car and sign them and hand them back. We'll be responsible about it. But yeah, we definitely want to make them available for fans to have signatures and all that good stuff. So when that moment arises, they say it's supposed to come out in the summer, but the way everything seems to be moving, it might be coming out sooner.
Yeah, I'm feeling, don't quote me on it, but I feel like it's going to be sooner. I know they're already in production. So
hopefully, with everything that's going on with the vaccine, people getting vaccinated, and hopefully the world gets back to semi-normal. Hopefully we can go about our merry way of having interactions with people. And there's something, I had my first action figure through Figures Toy Company. There was a sense of pride of somebody coming up to the table and saying, I would like to buy your action figure, and signing it, and handing it to them and watching their reaction as you sign them. And you can have you can talk about it, have, conversations about it. And that's what I want us to, to be able to do, to be at a table, sell these action figures, have a great conversation with folks about them, sign them any way they want them, and, hand them out. There's like something personal to being able to sign it in person, and that's what I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, but in the meantime, like Meanie said, we will figure out a way to, if people want them signed, and we'll cross the bridge when we come to it. We're very grateful that people have already mentioned that to us, that they'd like that, and we'll figure out a safe way to do it. Meanie and I actually we did a thing with Chella Toys, so it was the first, I think it was until like November 15th or something. I might have the dates off, but there was a certain time that if you pre-ordered, you would get concept art signed by myself and Meanie. There was concept art that was that's going to be signed by myself and Meanie. Meanie's already signed his, and we're just trying to figure out a time for him to kind of drop it in my driveway, and I'll have a package of this guy waiting for him, and we'll swap, and then I'll sign it and send them all out to everybody. So, we are being conscious of that, but we're so eager to get these out there. As long as it's safe, we'll make sure everybody gets them. If they want them signed, we'll figure that out too.
So last question about these figures. Once you get these toys in hand, you get the final production versions out, you tear them out of the box. Who are your figures going to pin first?
Mine's going to pin Meanie. There's a lot of aggression that I'm keeping deep inside. And I'm going to take that out on this action figure.
And my career, I'll gladly lay down. I know the light count in every major arena because I've counted them, because I've spent most of my career on my back. So
hey, at least you had the opportunity to lay on your back in those arenas.
Yeah.
So
I kid because I was part of the job squad and all that good stuff. But yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Gives me time to ponder.
I will say that when I got this, one of the first things I did when I took it out of the package was I took a picture of it with that old beat up Bret Hart figure that I was telling you about, and just kind of stood it next to, I took this picture. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to share this with anybody. I'm like, I don't even know why I took this, but I definitely, so for me, I think I'll just display mine next to Bret Hart and be doing an interview. And then I'll have like 10 more that I'll display all around my office and house. And I know my kids, they just did not understand when I got these in the mail and was dumb enough to show it to them. They did not understand why they couldn't instantly play with them. Definitely more interested in the blue Meanie than me, I think, but it's all right. They're kids. But no, I'm excited. I'm excited just to stand it next to everybody and just try and let it all soak in.
I'm very excited to add these figures to my Hasbro collection as well. Perfect fit. And if you guys want to check out these figures for yourself or order some of your own, we're going to have the links to all of that, as well as the Nick Aldis figure we mentioned here. It's going to all be in the YouTube description, so make sure you check it out. Head over to Chella Toys, JB Toys. We're going to have all the information there. But Meanie, Josh, can you tell us how our listeners and our audience today can follow your show?
So the show, you can find us on social media across the board. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Mind of the Meanie. And we even have mindofthemeanie.com, which kind of then links you to everything. But our podcast can be downloaded wherever you get your podcasts. Every Monday at 6 a.m. it drops. So as we're recording this, we just yesterday recorded episode 43. So we are nearing that 1 year mark already. And I don't know when this is going to air, but we will still be going strong. So we're loving every second of it. And like I said, wherever you get your podcast, you can go just search Mind of the Meanie, and it'll be that nice Hal Haney logo, and you'll be able to enjoy the debauchery that happens every single week. Not for kids. I should specify that. These very much for kids. Podcast, not so much.
Also, if you enjoy your podcast in the form of YouTube,
Yes.
if you don't like to download your podcast, but you like to listen on YouTube, go to youtube.com/Mind of the Meanie, where you can listen each and every Monday when it drops at 6 a.m. We also have Meanie Tunes, which is a couple cartoons based on my real life adventures in the world of professional wrestling. And we have a couple specials coming up, celebrating, passing 1,000 subscribers, and a couple, maybe we'll do something special for our 1 year anniversary and stuff like that. But definitely go to youtube.com/Mind of the Meanie. If you want to support the Mind of the Meanie, also go to prowrestlingtees.com/Mind of the Meanie, and you can get this wonderful t-shirt as well.
Well, Josh, Meanie, thank you so much for joining us here today to talk about the toys. Congrats on the figures. Congrats on the podcasting milestone. Big stuff for you guys. Looking forward to seeing what's next for the podcast. And anybody else out there who's watching today, do make sure you check it out if you're a fan of pro wrestling, or just hear all sorts of the debauchery and all the fun stuff that you're going to check out on the Mind of the Meanie podcast. It's a real good time. Definitely worth listening to. So, Josh, Meanie, thank you guys again so much. I hope I can meet you guys at the big event or something in New York and get these toys signed in hand.
I hope so. We will make sure to figure out a way to get you some signed figures. But yeah, hopefully sooner than later, we're going to be able to meet in person, and we have so many people we'd like to meet in person. But thank you so much for having us on. Really appreciate it.
All right, thank you guys again, and stick around. There's more nerd news today. Toy Fair 2021 coming up right now.